Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll Masechtas Nazir daf Yud Aleph. We're going to begin on Yud Aleph Amud Aleph by the Mishnah. Mastis mazguloi esakos. So let's say someone pours this person a cup of wine, v'omer, and upon seeing this, he says, Hareini Nazir mimenu. I will be a Nazir from it. So how is it Nazir? So we say that he's considered to be a Nazir. The fact that he saw the wine, that doesn't mean just that he's refusing to drink that wine, but all wine, and he is now accepting upon himself as the din of a Nazir. Says Taisus, perish Nazir min hakos, how is it Nazir, perish kol din Nazirus alav. All the dinim of Nazirus will fall upon him. And even though we're going to see, actually, there's going to be a different opinion. If you look at the Rosh, says, Mozgul as a kois, the Amar Hareini Nazir, and Horizen Nazir, Befilu Rav Shimon. So the Rosh says that even according to the opinion of Rav Shimon, which we're going to see later on, the Amar Ad Shiaz V'Kulon, he says that in order to be a Nazir, you have to separate yourself from all the different things. You have to not just talk about wine, there's other aspects and details. Hacha Moida. Over here he agrees. Why? That he'll be a Nazir. Kivandul hisker b'hedi yayin. Even though the wine was in front of him, all he did was say Hareini Nazir mimenu. He didn't say the word yayin. Dolgar miyados naziros. It's no different than when we learned at the beginning of the Masechta of yados. And then the Mishnah seemingly says a masa lister. Masa bi'isha achas was a woman shahaisa shikura. She was intoxicated. And they gave her some wine. They poured her some wine. The Amr, and she says, Hareini Nazir menu. Now, in that situation, she says, I'm a Nazir from it. So, l'chayra, you would think that she should be a Nazir, because that's what we just saw in the Reisha. So, Amr Chachamim, for some reason, that all she's doing is saying this davka regarding this cup of wine, but not that she's making herself into a Nazira from all wine. Which again, the Gemara is going to ask, that seems to be a contradiction, the Seifa from the Reisha. So, on this, Taisus says, Lo Nesra El Ba'isakos Bovad. She's only also that cup of wine. Again, the Gemara is going to ask Masalister, which we're going to see right now. Masalister, Amr Reisha Hari and Nazir. Bahadr Tani Masabi Ishacha Salma. Alma Bahaihu the Aser Hayaina Achrina Shari. She's only also in that wine, but other wine she's mutter, which means she's not a Nazira. So I thought we just said that if someone pours you a cup of wine and you say Hareini Nazir mimenu, then you're a Nazir. So Gemara says like this: Chaser mechso hakatani. There's words missing in our Mishnah, so you're supposed to read it. Mosgul as a kos. The person just pours you, and you're feeling good, and they pour you a cup of wine. V'omer Hareini Nazir mimenu. So Hareini is a Nazir. So that is the case. In a normal situation, you're perfectly healthy, you have a clear mind, and you say, I don't want this wine. So you don't say wine, you say Hareini Nazir mimenu. So it means that you're a Nazir completely. Now, be'im shikerhu, if you're an intoxicated person, already you're drunk. Remember, Hareini Nazir mimenu, and you say, I want to be a Nazir, Einu Nazir. In that case, it doesn't work. My time of commandi omer, because it's as though you said Hareini carbonhu. It's as though you're actually separating yourself just from this wine, but you don't really intend to separate yourself completely from other wine. So let the person say it this way. What do you mean it's commandi omer Hareini carbonhu? Then that's how he should have said it. So so we hold that my sinenli achrina, that we keep bringing him more cups, umitsarin, and we pain him, mitsarinli. Emulhu hamilsa de psikalahu. They'll say this is something that they'll stop doing. Umasaname beisha achas. So what does that mean? So let's look in the Mefarsh. So you should say it that way. So the svara amina hachi sverluhud shloi asarti lai el kaizil bovad. If he just wants to answer himself from this cup, umaisili kos achrin, bring him another cup. Be amri li ishti, be amri li ashti, and they say drink. V'kumatsarinli the shastia ana. So it's causing pain because he's already intoxicated. Look in Taisus. She'imo yomer nazirhu Yarish Yavu Kos Acher. The reason why he says this is he doesn't really want to be a Nazir. He's just afraid they're going to keep bringing him more cups. Nazir he just wants them to stop giving him wine. That normally they're not going to keep giving him drinks. So in other words, for some reason, if someone's a shikr, you see that they are enjoying alcohol, so you're going to continue to give them wine to drink. So if that's the situation, then people are going to keep giving you. So when he said this, he didn't really want to become a Nazir. He just wanted to try to tell them, stop giving me wine, because otherwise they would have continued to do so. But his intention was really just to say, I don't want wine now, but not that he doesn't want wine in the future. Mashenkin, if he wasn't intoxicated, so then he actually would be a Nazir. Okay, that's the pshat, how you read this piece. Okay. So that's what it says. Emelhu hamilsa. So he said this to psikuhus, that they'll stop giving him wine, right? But it wasn't because he really wants to be a Nazir. Next Mishnah, Mastisa. Harini Nazir almanas she. For some reason, this person doesn't know the basic laws of being a Nazir. And he says, I want to be a Nazir, but on condition that I want to drink wine, I want to become Tummy Mace, which of course these are things you can't do. So here's a Nazir. So he said, once you said that you're a Nazir, that's it. And therefore you're us with all of them. As before says, Shekol Diktuki Nazirus Olav. All the laws of Nazirus apply to you. It doesn't matter that what you said afterwards. You're a Nazir. And therefore, you're usher in all of them. What happens if instead you say, Yodani Sheish Nazirus? I know there's this concept of being a Nazir. I didn't know anything about a Nazir is not allowed to drink wine. So on this situation, we say it doesn't matter. Your lack of knowledge doesn't matter. You still are usher, you're still a Nazir. Rav Shimon Matir. However, Rav Shimon says that in that situation, since you didn't know that he wasn't allowed to drink wine, so it's mutter. So you're not considered to be a Nazir. Why? So the Mefarsh says, the hoyel shul kibul of el chatzi hanazirus. You're only accepted upon yourself half or part of the nazirus. Shul hayodesh naziros b'yayin. You didn't know that you were not makabel about the wine part. You didn't know anything about it. So harizem mutter b'kulin. Since you weren't makabel all of it, so you're not a Nazir at all. You have to actually accept everything. So if you didn't accept the entirety of the Nazirus, so then in that situation, you're not going to be a Nazir, or Shimon Matir. Now what happens if instead you say, Yodeani shahanazir asabayayin. I know that a Nazir is not allowed to drink wine. I thought that the Chachamim would easily remove this vow. I'm only able to survive by drinking wine. My profession is I work in a funeral chapel. I work in a cemetery, so I have to become Tamei Meis. So I only did it on condition because I thought for sure the Chachamim would be matir. So how is it mutter? So interestingly enough, it seems flipped, which we're going to understand. Here the Chachamim say that he's not a Nazir. Rav Shimon says he is a Nazir. Let's see the Rosh. Nearly the lo zav zukatani. The Reisha shehu yodesh Nazir, in the first case where he knew he was a Nazir, aser b'yayin. Vadayamrinan de ein Nazir l'chatzayin. In that situation, he's definitely not a Nazir halfway. Yaser b'kulon. Avol b'seifa havi kamo neder b'tois. It was like a mistake. His point is, had I known that you're not allowed to drink wine as a Nazir, I would never have made myself into a Nazir. Okay. So the Gemara says like this: so why doesn't Rav Shimon also argue in the Reisha? Says the Mefarsh, the Paul Rav Shimon ayodea nishesh nazirus. I knew that there was Nazirus, the Chayil Nazirus, Mishum Dolo Kibel Kodikted Nazirus. So why doesn't he also argue in the Reisha? It just says cleanly that I'm a Nazir on condition that I should drink wine, that I should become Tolam Mesim, Harzin Nazir V'Asr B'Kulon. So why doesn't he argue there too? It doesn't say there's any argument over there. So Amar Rav Shimon ben Lakish, Amar Rav Shimon Levi, Chalak Hayu Rav Shimon operation. No, the truth is that he actually does disagree with the Reisha as well. He doesn't necessarily have to keep saying his statements. However, not also Rav Shimon holds, since he said, I'm going to be a Nazir on condition that I'm allowed to drink wine or become Tamei Meis. So in that situation, his entirety of becoming Nazir was just for his for the shaving and bringing karbanos. And again, Rav Shimon holds that you have to be Yaz Ad Sheyaz Mekuon. So therefore, he would also hold on the Reisha that he's not a Nazir. So according to Rabbi Shimon Levi, that you're right. Even though Rav Shimon doesn't mention in our Mishnah, it doesn't matter. Still, the din is that Rav Shimon would be of the opinion that, in fact, he is not a Nazir. Or Ravina Omer Bereish L'Polig Rav Shimon, which seems more clean from the language of our Mishnah. He doesn't argue on the Reisha. So why not? In the Reisha, the fact that he says, on condition I can drink wine and become Tamei Meis, so obviously he was not Yazir Mekuon. So my timer. So why would he say you're a Nazir in that case? Mishum dehamile masla mashikasa b'tayr v'chol masla mashikasa b'tayr tonight bottle. We know that there's this concept that if you make a condition almanas on something in which is totally against the framework of what the Torah tells you, so it doesn't mean anything, right? You can't make a condition. I'm going to observe Shabbos almanas that I don't, but I'm still going to do the Lamates Malachos. So what does that mean? You're making a condition against what the Torah says. That's part of what it means to keep Shabbos. So part of keeping the din of Nazirus is you have these laws that you have to follow. So you can't make a condition which is against what a Nazir is. So therefore, according to the opinion of Rav Shimon, he would say, no, it doesn't matter what you said. What you said afterwards is nothing, and therefore the din still is that you will be a Nazir. Okay, so again, that's a machlokas, whether or not he actually is chaylik in the Reisha. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who says that they do agree, he actually is polig in the Reisha. So what does he do with this? So Hai Almanas Kechutz Dami. This is actually a comparable situation of Kechutz, like with except this. So what does that mean? So the Mefarsh explains, and we'll see Taisus. So Bereisha Namin polig Rav Shimon. The Hai Almanas, when he says, sometimes you say on condition, Kechutz Dami, Kivan de Kibul of Nazirus b'mixus, since he only accepted part Nazirus, so he's not really going against what the Torah says. A person says, I will marry you, but I'm not going to provide any of the things that are required of a man to a woman. I'm not going to give you clothing, cohabitation. I'm not going to give you food. It's nothing. That's nothing. So he really over there, that's not kedushin, so it doesn't work. That condition is not a condition, because you're basically saying that you don't want to follow what it is to be a husband. Here you are makabel something. So therefore your condition does work. So again, since you didn't accept the Nazirus entirely, he holds that you have to be, in order for it to be a Nazir, you have to be Mekabel Kuon. So in this situation, he didn't. But it's not the same thing as when it comes to, again, Kedushin. And I think Taisus maybe says the same thing, so let's look at it, and then we're going to see question 7. Dim Timer, Ibaha Mekadesh S.E. Shomanash Shein Lo Shark Suswaina Habib Kadeshes. About Tanai Bottle. So how come in that situation, so again, when it comes to Nazir, he's not a Nazir according to Rav Shimon. But why, when it comes to Kedushin, do we say it is a good Kedushin? And the fact that he said, I'm not going to do all these different things, Sherk Susona, those things are worthless. V'lo omer kechutz dami. So why? No, what's the difference? Why by Kedushin is it Chal, and why by Nazirus we say it's not? So even if you would say the word chutz, mishar lo mahani leidibur the in kedushin lechatzayin. it doesn't work. You can't be half married. Therefore, once you say Hariyat Mekadeshes, that's it. You're fully married. You said nothing. That's why you have to do all these other things. You have to accept everything. If you only accepted part of it, you're not a Nazir. Let's see how question 7 how he asked this. He says, "B'kedushin afil omer chutz lehedya." Even if you would actually say by Hariyat Mekadeshesli chutz b'shir ksus lo'ina, doesn't make a difference. Lo mahani. Those things will not help. Given the kedusha lemechsa. The havi mekadesh gemura. You're just married. And that's it. You have to accept everything. So if you only accepted some of it, it's nothing. So therefore, because of that, you're not going to be a Nazir. Okay. Ayin Taisus. So, but basically what the Gemara is basically saying again is, according to Rav Shimon Levi, no, Rav Shimon holds that also in this case of the ratio, a person says, I'm a Nazir, al manas, I'm going to become tameh, al manas, that I'm going to drink wine. So he says that that's only considered to be partial Kabbalah anyway, and therefore it's not a Nazirus. Okay. Tanakh to Ravina. So Ravina, who says that everyone agrees to the ratio. If a which gives his reason, and also it doesn't have Rav Shimon afterwards arguing. So it must be that they're not cholok in the ratio. And then the Mishnah said, Yodani sha nazir asa b'yayin. So a person says, I do know that a nazir is not allowed to drink wine. However, I thought that the Chacham will matter me. Now, unbelievably, we see the opposite. We see in the Sefer of the Mishnah, it says that Rav Shimon is Oyser, which means Rav Shimon says he's a Nazir in that situation. But I thought Rav Shimon usually is the one who says that you're not a Nazir. Rav Shimon matter. There's mamash opposite answer. The answer is 3 answers. Ema nami hariza Oyser Rav Shimon matter. So the first answer is Epoch. We flip it around. So Rav Shimon remains consistent. You're right. Rav Shimon still holds she's not a Nazir in that case. Or really, maybe we shouldn't flip it around. So even though normally Rav Shimon says the person's not a Nazir, in this situation, when a person says I'm going, but I work in a cemetery, so I thought for sure the Chacham would be matter it anyway. So why does he say it's a neder? Why is it a good Nazirus? Hassam over there, as we continue to Yud Aleph Amid Beis, Reisha could go in the Nazir Mechada. Is a situation where he only became a Nazir from one part. So we know that there is this din, as we already said a couple times, that when you only are Makabel part of the Nazirus, is that considered to be enough that now you're Makabel everything? The Rabbanan say yes. So therefore, when it comes to just accepting one part, let's say wine, we say that's it. You're considered to be a Nazir. Rav Shimon the Omer ad she'as mekulan mutter. Okay, now that's the ratio. So again, the reason why is because in the ratio, all he's doing is accepting the, let's say, the galachas or the karbonos. Seifa the neder mekulhu. He's actually making a neder for everything. The itchel machada, and all he wants to do is remove one aspect, because he's saying that the Chachamim can remove this because I drink wine, or separate case because I work with Mesa. So Rabbanan Yarmei Filu Nazir El Me'achas Mehen Havi Nazir. So it's interesting. You think about it on the flip side, that according to the Rabbanan, as long as you make a neder from one of them, that will make you into a Nazir. So Kimachel Mechadim Enahu Ishtari. Also, if you are able to remove one of those things through a Heter Chacham, that also will free you. So one will make you into a Nazir, part will make you into a Nazir, and part could remove you from being a Nazir. and therefore that's enough that he's not a Nazir. Rav Shimon it's all so ki mashal nami mahu ad demachil mekulhu. You mishum hachi katan Rav Shimon oiser. It's a very interesting logic. It's because since Rav Shimon says you need everything to become a Nazir, you need to remove everything to not be a Nazir. Says the Mefarsh. The Kaimer of Ulsamar he says Shechama Matim. Rabbanan Amr feel like he kiloi Nazir elam achas mehen havi Nazir. Hachinami ki mashal echad minahu ishtri nami akuhu hilkachu muter. That's answer number 2. A little more complex. So either epoch or don't epoch, and again, just like you have to accept all, so you have to remove all. And therefore, since he's not removing all, he did make himself into a Nazir, so therefore he's Aser. Yebois ema benidri oinsin kamiflagi, which we have in Masechtas Nedarim. The Mefarsh says, Masnisin hoyel de nidri oinsin hein. A person makes a neder, and then some accident happens, Piska Avro, he couldn't cross the river. It's also brought in the beginning of Ksuvas. Hoyel de ein yochel chaya yispol yayin. So this is something which he can't do. It's mam shenainis. He can't survive without wine. Or she'ein korban oiso b'makom she'ein kovrin b'oiso makom elzu. He's the only person that works in the cemetery. He is it's an absolute necessity that he is a Nazir. So that he can't be a Nazir because he has to do all these things. So this is nidri oinsin. It's almost like it was a mistake to begin with. It says Taisus Kagain Shadiru Chaver Shioichel Etzlo B'yoim Plon. I'm going to eat by you one day. V'yiro Oinus. Some accident happened. Shioichel Lobo Etzlo. He couldn't come. If he was sick, son was sick. Im Sach Lishol El Oisen Neder Midrabanan Pligi Hamarai Awesome. So the question is, do you actually have to be Matir Neder over there by Nidr Einsim? They did not. Arba Nadarim Hatir Chachamim. There are 4 different Nidarim, which all are broken down by separate Mishnayos. Nidri's reason, a neder to be zor is to get someone to do something, like to come to your house to eat. Nidri havoy, exaggerations, like the people who left Mitzrayim. Nidri shkagais, nidri oinsin. So nidri oinsin is one of the cases. Yom Rav Yehuda, Rav Asi, Armin Nadarim Halo, Srichin She'el Chachamim. Even though you said the neder, and you would think it doesn't really mean anything, you still need She'el's Chacham to have removed. Kamrisa Gaved Shmuel, Amrli, Tana Katani Hatir Chachamim, Vi'at Amrit Srichin She'ela Chachamim. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you need She'ela? Because you just said that it's mutter. So Rabbanan Savri Kishmul, Rav Shimon Krab Asi. So if you look in the Mefarsh, the Ein Sarach She'ela Kishmul Mishum Hachi Shari. You don't need anything. You don't even need She'ela. He's mutter because he's nothing. Because you don't even need to do anything. Rav Yosef is the Aser below She'ela. L'chacham Mishum Hachi Mitzer Kol Zman Shlo Hetirlo. You still need She'ela's Chacham. Question 8. Yadiani She'anazar Asma Yain Elbel Savar Hayisa Shechachamim Matirin. My time with Rav Shimon, Bereishel, Oimer, Yodesh Nazar Asma Yayin, and they smartly write 2 answers. Lo mandaloi mapich. They don't just want you to say apich, which doesn't mean really even to remember the sugya so well. So either we said, according to Rav Shimon Lishita, so you need to accept everything, so too you have to remove everything. Or when it comes to Nidri Oinsin, whether or not you need She'el's Chacham. Okay. Next Mishnah. Basnis. Hareini Nazir. Person accepts himself to be a Nazir. Okay. And then he also says, V'olai l'galeach Nazir. And it'll be upon me to shave another Nazir. Which doesn't mean just that. It also means, as the Mefarsh says, L'havi karbanasa b'yom tegalachdai. That I will bring karbanos for him. So it's an expense. But he's accepting upon himself not just for himself to be a Nazir, but he'll also pay for the expenditure. He'll pay for the expenditures of someone else's karbanos. B'shama chavero, and another person heard it, was inspired. V'yomer ba'ani v'olai l'goyach Nazir. So he has to do that too. But im hayu pikchim, if these 2 guys were smart, they should come together and megalchen zed zed, and they could literally shave one another, so they could pay for each other's karbanos, and therefore you would only have to pay for 1 set. Being blah, but if you don't end up having this relationship with one another, megalchen nazirim acherim, then obviously you have to do this for someone else. So you're going to have to pay for your own karbanos and then for someone else's karbanos because that's what you accepted upon yourself. Okay. Iboiluhu says the Frek Gemara. Shama Chaveru. Let's say a friend heard this. V'oimer va'ani, and he said, and I. That's all he said. He didn't say va'ani v'olai l'galech nazir. All he said was va'ani. That's it. So what does that mean? Mahu. Dianiya kuli dibura mashma. Does it mean on everything that he said? Not only am I going to be a nazir, but I'm also going to be able to pay for someone else's karbanos. Odilma apalga de dibura mashma. Maybe it's only on part of what he said. Says the Mefarish, "Dechadim de kabalayu o nazirus o galech amotravayu lamashma." So in this point of the Gemara's questioning, we don't know which of the two, but maybe he only meant I will accept one aspect. We don't even know which one it is. So this is the second question. If it is split, which one is it? Is that he's a nazir or is he going to pay for someone else's karbanos? So Tashma. So it says in our Mishnah, "V'ani ba'olai legalech nazir." So no yapichin megalchen zed zed. So then, if they're smart, they should pay for each other's. Now, but v'ani ba'olai, since the Mishnah says not just v'ani, it says v'ani ba'olai, shmamina v'ani, just alone v'ani is apal d'dibura amri. It must be he's only speaking about partially, because why would the Mishnah use extra words? It must be that's necessary to say those words. And therefore, if he only said v'ani, it's not the entirety of what was said before, but only part. A palgidi bor mashma mi or ratio seifa. Okay, fine. So at least at this point we can derive from our Mishnah, a diak from our Mishnah, that if you only say vani, that it certainly is only going on part. But what part? So mina midikamer v'olai legaleach, since it says he also says v'ali legaleach shmamina vani al tachilas dibura mashma. It's just going on being a nazir. The fact that the Mishnah said v'ani legaleach, which is about bringing karbanos, so only because he mentioned about the bringing karbanos. Mashma, if you don't bring it, all you said was vani, then it just means you accept upon yourself to be a nazir. Normally, Rav Huna b'rei Rav Yishul or Rav Mamai dahachi. How do you know that's the case? Oh, maybe I'll tell you v'ani kula dibura. Maybe v'ani is enough. And you're not only a nazir, but you also have to bring others karbanos. So why does the Mishnah say not just vani, but vani v'olai? My kaimer v'olai b'hamilsa. All he's doing is saying it's upon me this matter. So it's not necessary even to say this, but it can be understood that that's what he's referring to. But really, vani itself could actually be accepting everything. It says in the Seifa, and let's say a person says, I'm going to accept upon myself half of a nazir, which is not the Seifa, we haven't seen this yet. V'shama chaver, a friend says, v'oimer daniel nazir, hasa mi'ika tartin mili, that is there considered to be two separate words. Elamai karmer olai b'hamilsa, hachanami ki karmer olai b'hamilsa. Emily Rabba, Haki Hashta. Our Mishnah Sricha. Our Mishnah, we need that case. Seifa, the next Mishnah, about half Lot Sricha. We don't need. Tani Seifa, the Lot Sricha. Sometimes the Seifa, which is not necessary, is mentioned Misham Reisha Sricha. Right? So even though sometimes there are certain parts of the Mishnayos that are mentioned, the Reisha is necessary, but the Seifa may not be necessary, but it's just to basically contrast. So tani reisha lo tani seifa lo tzricha. So if you tell me the reisha is not a chiddush and the seifa is not a chiddush, that's hard to say. It would make more sense that the reisha is actually a chiddush, then we can actually make a diak in the Mishnah, and therefore we in fact should say that what he's doing is being polygon, he's splitting up his words, and therefore vani is only accepting one thing. Which one is that, being a nazir? We'll stop here. Let's see a couple of questions. Do TA first. TA 16. Rav Shimon the boy Shiaz Mekulon, they have to be a nazir from everything. Mahadin ba'omer hari nazir almanas sheyeh shaisi yayin. What is the din if a person says, I will be a nazir on condition that I drink wine? What does Rav Shimon hold? So it's actually a machlokus, as we saw. Let's see how he writes this. Rav Shimon Levi, Rav Shimon is mater almanas kachutz dami uboy shiaz mekuon. Ravina hacha afar Shimon oiser delmadasu tanai b'chomas mashachasa tanai bottle. So this is TA 16, which is basically going back on what we saw in Amud Aleph. What does Rav Shimon say? So according to Rav Shimon Levi, he's cholok hayu Rav Shimon operation. Ravina says that Rav Shimon does not argue. Ravina Omer Bereisha lo polig Rav Shimon. He fine. And it's based on, again, the notion of almanas kachutz dami or kol masal mash kosabatayra tonight bottle. Okay. TB 17. Mishiki beloved Naziris Mikol Davar, he accepted everything. Ve'achat nishal al echad min hadavarim mahadin. And you end up being nishal on one of them, what's the din? So I'd say it's a machlok Tanakh Rav Shimon. Let's see how he writes it. Hurabanan the Mekabel love davar echad. Okay, so he wants to explain a little bit better. According to the Rabban, who says you can be Mekabel one thing that makes you and does it completely, so at the end, if you're matter one thing, one she'ela, one aspect will also remove the whole thing. According to Rav Shimon says you need at the beginning to be Mekabel everything, so too at the end you also need to be she'ela al hakol, adkan.